Ooh, ah. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Foster the Meeple, a channel all about board games and board gamey things. My name is Jamie, and I am back with another pumped up Kickstarter. And today's pumped up Kickstarter preview is going to be on Draconis 8 from Wise Wizard Games, who very kindly sponsored this video. Now, Draconis 8 is coming to Kickstarter on October 8th. Everything that you are going to see in the video today is a prototype. So prototype, I don't even have a box, okay? I put an image on the screen so you know what it looks like. But this is a prototype, so of course, as per usual, things are subject to change. Now, the prototype that I have is a starter set, which contains 4 sealed decks, 41 victory point beads, a drawstring bag, and a rules sheet, okay? So that is kind of what I am working with here. This is what my packs look like. They're all listed, so I know when to open which ones and keep them separate and do all that good stuff, all right? So as per usual with my preview videos, I am going to give you a little overview of how the game works and help you decide whether or not this game is a good fit for you. So without further ado, let's dive into it. All right, let's talk about Draconis 8, shall we? Draconis 8 is a pocket tactical trading card game, or TCG. Command a dragon and various champions as you battle for dominance in the vibrant world of Draconis 8. Each 9-card pack has a complete deck for one player. You could play one pack against another, or each player can construct their decks from multiple packs. Every round, each player will reveal a card from their hand, and the player with the faster card will earn a victory point and plays their card first. Cards are played in a grid, and opposing cards challenge each other to earn victory points. After 7 rounds, the player with the most victory points will win the game. Great. What does any of that mean? I'm very glad you asked. Let's take a closer look at how the game works. I have you set up with the overhead camera and all of these beautiful little things you can see. All right, so we have 2 decks here. Before we do start, let's first take a look at the anatomy of a card. All right, so we'll start with this beautiful dragon. So there are 3 types of cards that you will encounter in the deck. All right, so we've got a dragon, so there's 1 dragon. You have your champions, and then you'll have a terrain card, which is this card right here. Every deck must have 1 dragon, exactly 1 dragon. Dragons are jealous creatures, okay? They don't want you to have more than 1. Everybody knows that about dragons. All right, so we have in the circle here, that is the initiative value, which is going to matter when we start playing and flipping cards, and I'll get to that soon. We also have in these little, they kind of look like little shields. These are our challenge values. So on this dragon, we have a 6, a 50, a 25, and an 8. And then we will have abilities. So you'll see in these little symbols, these little circles, those are the different abilities, and you'll see different cards have different abilities that you can see. Dragons will always have 3 abilities, one of which will be flight, one of which will be range, and then one of which is matching a dragon color. Okay, we'll talk about abilities in a little bit. So to start, you're going to need to create your deck, and there are a few options that you can do. So we have quick battle, constructed, and a 3-pack draft. For the purposes of today's video, I have set up a quick battle, which is recommended for new players. All right, so for a quick battle, each player will use a new pack to play. Okay, so as an example, I just opened these, but this would be considered a new pack to play. For constructed, players will use any pre-made 8-card decks, which of course includes 1 dragon card and 7 champions. And for a 3-pack draft, each player will open a pack, draft a dragon card, adding it to their deck. Each player will also take the terrain card to accompany their deck. Next, each player will draft 1 champion card of their choice. Then they're going to pass the pack to the player on their left, clockwise, and you're going to repeat this process until all champions have been drafted. All right? No deck may contain more than 5 cards of any one ability, so that is something to be very mindful of when you are drafting cards. Of course, if you are using a closed pack, like for the quick battle, you're not going to need to worry about that because these will be constructed in the proper way. All right, that's only when you're drafting. Next, you'll randomly select either player's terrain and place it in the middle of the battlefield, leaving room for the battlefield to extend up to 3 cards in every direction, so a 7x7 grid. So we're thinking like keeping the cards face down, each player will then shuffle their 8-card deck and place it next to them. All right, so we're gonna do a little shuffle. I'm gonna put my little gemmers over here. These are our victory point tokens. Then each player will draw 2 cards from their deck into their hand. Ooh, Finally, you'll place the yellow victory beads in a pool between both players. So maybe we'll put these here. One player will then grab the red victory beads, and then the other player will grab the blue victory point beads. And this is how you're going to be keeping track of your points throughout the game. Draconis 8 is played over 7 rounds, and in each round, each player will play 1 of the 2 cards in their hand. During a turn, you'll each choose 1 card from hand and play it face down in front of you. Let's do a little example. Okay, we've each played our card face down. Once everybody's card is face down, we will simultaneously reveal them. Ooh, a dragon. The player with the highest initiative value will be the first player and will score 1 initiative point. So that is going to be me. Nice. The first player will then place their card into play face up in the battlefield in any orientation. You could place your card in any orientation, but you must place it adjacent, which is diagonal or orthogonal to another card. You can't place it in a spot that breaks a potential 4x4 grid of cards. In other words, if placing the card creates a 5th row or column in the battlefield, that will be an illegal placement. Let's do a little example here. I would like to place my card here, and the other player is also going to get to place their card out. Here, I have a higher value than the terrain. Now, the terrain is considered high ground, and it will score you more victory points, but I have a 46 and they have a 33. That means I will score 2 victory points. Now we put the points here on the card because they can change. There are going to be ways that cards are going to be possibly rotating, getting new challenges, all of this stuff. So these aren't necessarily forever points. Just keep that in mind. All right, so then my opponent would also want to place out a card. Now they could place here next to the terrain, or they could place next to me if they think that they can win. whatever they might like to do. But let's just say they decided to place here for now. Now this isn't high ground, so you could see there's specific symbols that have a high ground kind of icon on it. It's like a double layer. So they're only going to score 1 point. As mentioned, winning initiative will score you 1 point. When winning a challenge, it's going to be whoever has the highest value of the two values facing each other on the battlefield. It is probably important to note that you can't win a challenge against your own card. Okay? Can't do that. Now the last thing I want to talk about are abilities, which can alter the battlefield, change card orientation, and offer additional victory point beads. And there are 9 abilities that can come up. All right, so let's go through those abilities. First up, we have Aura, which is this symbol right here. If winning at least 2 challenges, that champion will gain +2 victory point beads. So as an example, if they were here, they would be winning this challenge. And if somebody else had placed here, they would be winning this challenge. Because they have the Aura symbol and they are currently winning 2, they will gain 2 additional victory point beads. Next up, we have Command. Now, Command is this symbol right here. When played, you may rotate your adjacent champion. Remember, adjacent is diagonally or orthogonally adjacent. So you get to rotate an adjacent champion. Let's just say this was here, and I had played out this card. I could rotate here. Now the reason why you might want to do that is if you were, let's get a decent example. Let's say we had this. So if we had been losing this, which in this example we wouldn't have because I just grabbed a random card, but if I had turned this and now suddenly I'm winning, it is going to take the points from this card and give it to this card. So that is how you can kind of change your fate. That's one way for rotating cards. Next up, we have Confuse. This symbol here, which is kind of like a little spiral confusion hypnosis symbol. When played, you may rotate an opponent's diagonal champion. So if this had been played here, we would be able to rotate this. Let's do it this way, because then the points that they would have had are now going to go to the opposing player's champion. Next, we have Enforced, and the Enforced symbol is a little like castle tower. The enforced side and corners of the champion is immune to rotation and movement by enemies, as well as the corners blocking range from scoring victory points. We have Fear. So Fear is this little skull symbol that you see right here. When played, you may rotate an opponent's orthogonal champion. So if I had played this here, I could rotate this like so. Next up, we have Flight, and you'll remember all of the dragons have flight, and that is this winged symbol right here. For each winning challenge that is winning by 10 or more, that champion gains +1 victory point bead. So when we initially placed this dragon down, it was beating this terrain by more than 10, meaning it should score 2 victory points instead of the regular 1. Next, we have Range, and range is the little bow and arrow symbol. Arrows score +1 victory point bead against diagonal enemy champions unless the corners are enforced. Next, we have Rooted. Now, a rooted card cannot be moved or rotated by an opponent's abilities. And finally, we have Stomp, which is this down arrow here. When played, you may play on top of an enemy champion, forcing that enemy card to slide orthogonally to an empty space. So if we had stomped this character, we could move them over here like so. Now, you will continue playing turns until you have completed 7 rounds, and at the end of 7 rounds, whoever has the most points will win. You will always have 2 cards in your hand when your turn starts. You will then select one of those 2 cards in your hand, lay it face down. Simultaneously, you will flip those cards face up. Whoever has the higher initiative will play their card out first, followed by their opponent, and you will then score victory points accordingly to where your card is placed in the grid. You're going to do that 7 times, then you're going to count up victory points to see who has the most to win. So the question always is, who is this game for? This game is for fans of TCGs, aka trading card games, and card battle games. There is a high amount of interaction and lots of card triggers to manage. You'll want to optimize the cards you play out and eventually build decks to have your cards work cohesively together. You only ever have 2 cards in your hand on your turn, so you'll want to make sure your team plays off each other well. This could also be really good for someone who's looking to get into TCGs without a massively heavy rule set. As you would have seen, really, like, all you're doing is you are playing out a card and triggering the ability and looking at the numbers to see who has the higher challenge value in order to score a point. Where the heaviness comes into this game is going to be within the strategy, making sure that you're optimizing where you're placing cards, how you're using those triggering abilities to rotate things around you, to stomp on other cards, and to steal points from other players. I do also want to mention that you can play this game with 3 players or 4 players. A 4-player game is actually played in a 2v2 mode, so there's lots of different play options for various player counts. And I do also want to mention that there is a companion app that is going to be coming with this game that is going to allow you to kind of scan your different cards, your decks, allow you to do PvP, campaigns, stuff like that. So that is going to be an additional option as well for you. However, of course, you don't need the app in order to just play the game. I do also want to give you a bit of information about collecting and packs. So here's some collector info for you. There are 340 pieces of unique art in this game. There's 140 dragons, 180 champions, and 20 territories, and millions of unique cards. There are also gold cards, which is pretty cool. I love gold, not gonna lie. When speaking about card balance, all cards in Draconis 8 have been balanced to help ensure that no single card is notably overpowered. However, some cards might be more desirable in certain situations or in combinations with other cards, as is relatively common in these types of card games. Cards with higher initiative values will have less challenge value across their 4 sides and vice versa. So a slower or lower initiative card will have higher challenge values overall. Dragons are generally stronger than champions because they're dragons, and they are granted slightly higher challenge values and free abilities, and this is why players may only have 1 dragon. So that is an overview of Draconis 8. This was not an official how to play video, so if you do have any rules, questions, or anything, please feel free to leave those in the description below, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have. I'm also going to put a link below to a gameplay that Wise Wizard Games did over on their YouTube channel that you can check out if you'd like to see kind of in action how the game works. Now, if you're interested in Draconis 8, as always, I recommend that you watch lots of content, read reviews, check out the Kickstarter page to make sure that this game is a good fit for you and your collection. But that is everything that I have for you today on Draconis 8. Like I mentioned, all information details that you need are going to be linked in the description below. Now, if you're interested in buying board games, this one we're going to go to Kickstarter, but other games from Wise Wizard Games like Star Realms, as an example, you could get at your friendly local gaming store, and for us, that is the Boardroom Game Cafe. And if you like what you see, please consider subscribing, and I hope to see you again soon. And now, I'm going to say goodbye. Goodbye. Cool, cool. Beep, boop, beep. Okay, deck, deck. So long.